It's estimated that 10% of Americans are included in the LGBTQ community. Given that there are currently more than 329 million people in the United States, that 10% is nearly 33 million people. The Texas Healthcare Right of Conscience Act gives medical professionals the right to tell anyone they won't service them, not based on any oath they took, but solely based on their own views and beliefs. This bill specifically targets the LGBTQ community. However, it could impact people of color, immigrants, or people with disabilities. If this act is passed, those refusing service will not be able to be criminally or civically held responsible according to Section 161.703. Isn't it our right as human beings to make sure that we are all treated with equal rights, especially when it comes to something as basic as medical treatment? This bill would prohibit a physician or healthcare provider from being held civically or criminally liable because of their conscientious refusal of a healthcare service. If it is passed, the language of the bill would potentially allow healthcare providers to refuse to provide reproductive healthcare services to women and pregnant individuals and healthcare services to anyone in the LGBTQ community, including transitioning treatment for transgender individuals. This will discriminate against employment, licensing, and benefits, as also discrimination in regards to licensing, hiring, transferring, and promotions. According to Gilbert Burdine, medical doctor, the Hippocratic Oath that all doctors take states that I will keep them from harm and injustice. If doctors refuse to provide someone with their services because of their sexual orientation, that sounds like harm and a damn clear case of injustice. Nurses take a similar oath. The Florence Nightingale pledge states, with loyalty, I will endeavor to aid the physician in his work and devote myself to the welfare of those committed to my care. Emergency medical technicians and paramedics also take an oath which states, serves unselfishly and continuously in order to make a better world for mankind. However, it does not sound like making a better world if you have the potential to let approximately 33 million people suffer or die because they are denied inadequate medical care. LGBTQ employment discrimination in the U.S., based on an article called Breaking in Historical Ruling, EEOC finds sexual orientation discrimination is already illegal. The current status was started July 16, 2015. Today, the Commission has ruled that discrimination based on sexual orientation undergoes the topic of discrimination. This is because the discrimination is based on sex, thus is covered under the federal law, being protected under the EEOC. This is under the Title VII of Civil Rights Act of 1964. The EEOC states that allegations of discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation state a claim of discrimination on the basis of sex. We further conclude that allegations of discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation necessarily state a claim of discrimination on the basis of sex. The ruling covers federal workers directly, but also applies to the entire Opportunity Commission. This includes offices across the nation that investigate private employment claims of discrimination. Later that year, it was announced that transgender employees are covered under the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964. There are many advocacy groups that support the LGBTQ community, and more are being found regularly in the face of continuous targeting and prejudice. Some of the most known groups are PFLAG, which is Parents, Family, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, the Human Rights Campaign, and GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Advocates and Defenders. Another is GLMA, the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association, which fights specifically for equal rights in the healthcare field. After decades of fighting for protections of gay, lesbian, and bisexual employees, it is finally happening, but there are still many hurdles. The Washington Blade provides a statement in the article by Chris Johnson stating that the ruling affects any employment law. It does not have authority to determine whether gender provisions in housing and education law also covers sexual orientation discrimination. There is an LGBTQ non-discrimination comprehensive bill that was introduced to Congress, stating that they should explicitly prohibit sexual orientation and gender identity discrimination in these areas, in addition to employment, public accommodation, federal programs, and credit, which should all be completely equal. It is discrimination regardless of the setting. Democrats in Texas believe in freedom of religion, but they also fully support the LGBTQ+ community and consider it to be one of the most vulnerable groups. They even support gender-conforming surgery. Democrats in Texas adamantly oppose marriage inequality and the use of religion to justify hate speech, homophobia, and discrimination. Republicans in Texas do not feel as though the LGBTQ+ community should receive special privileges and believe that anyone who uses religion or values as a way to oppose homosexuality should be free from criminal or civil prosecution. Furthermore, Republicans believe that anyone has the right to refuse service to someone whose views, actions, or lifestyle they feel goes against their conscience, regardless of as to what their job requires them to do. If these professionals, especially those in the medical field, can take these oaths and borrow them and throw them out the window because they are granted immunity under their own values and beliefs, then what other oaths can they decide to forego? Would any other oaths matter in the United States anymore? Can these individuals, now immune under the law from upholding their medical oath, go to court and be reliable or truthful witnesses? One can only wonder what other oaths they would deem as not pertaining to them due to their personal values. In order to avoid this blatant and outrageous act of discrimination against the LGBTQ+ community, we strongly urge you to stand with us as allies and fight against the Texas Healthcare Right of Conscience Act.